I found myself amid a nightmare on Friday, August 13, 1976. The ominous storm clouds had gathered over the Buffalo Creek Valley in West Virginia, casting a heavy darkness over everything. I had always heard tales of the dam perched high above our town and how it held back a watery monster that, once unleashed, would devour all in its path. That day, those eerie stories became my reality. The thunder rumbled like the growls of some ancient beast, warning us of the impending doom. Rain poured in relentless sheets, and the wind howled through the trees, creating a cacophony that echoed the panic in my heart. As I watched from my window, the massive concrete behemoth dam struggled to hold back the swelling waters. The rain seemed endless, and the dam's resolve weakened with each passing minute. The stories had always appeared like superstitions, but now they took on a sinister truth. It was a Friday the 13th I would always remember. The dam finally succumbed to the relentless assault of rain and rising water, bursting like a roaring, vengeful spirit. The colossal wave of dark water descended upon our peaceful town, consuming homes, streets, and lives. In the chaos that followed, I fought to survive. The swift and merciless water rose around me, and I clung to debris, struggling to stay afloat. The cries for help echoed in the darkness, mixing with the thunder's fury. There was no escape from the watery abyss that had been unleashed. Haunted by the memory of that night, I can still hear the sound of the dam's final thunderous crack. It serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the darkest superstitions can manifest into horrifying realities. The Great Storm of 1976 forever etched a terrifying tale in the history of Buffalo Creek Valley. I am left with a fear of Friday the 13th that will haunt me for the rest of my days. In the aftermath of that horrific night, the town was forever changed. The once charming streets were now debris-strewn, and the air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and loss. The storm had taken lives, homes, and a piece of our collective soul. As the days turned into weeks, the survivors gathered to rebuild. Haunted by the memories of that cursed Friday the 13th, the town united in mourning, seeking solace in the company of those who had faced the same horrors. Bonds were forged through shared tragedy, and the spirit of resilience grew strong. The rebuilt dam stood as a symbol of strength and a chilling reminder of the past. It served as a sentinel, guarding the valley against the relentless rains, and people went about their lives, cautiously eyeing the calendar each time Friday the 13th approached. With each passing year, the scars of that night began to fade, but they were never forgotten. Children would hear stories of the great storm from their parents, grandparents, and even those who had lived through it. The superstitions surrounding that day took on a new depth of meaning, as if the very earth beneath the town held an ancient secret that had been awakened. I often find myself staring at the dam in the distance, the giant guardian standing as a testament to the strength of the human spirit. It's a reminder that even in the face of the darkest of days, a community can come together, support one another, and emerge stronger. The Great Storm of 1976 had left its mark on the physical landscape and the hearts and minds of all who had lived through it. Although I still shudder at the thought of Friday the 13th, I take solace in the knowledge that we had faced our fears and emerged from the depths of darkness, stronger and more united than ever. On Friday, January 13, 2012, a nightmarish voyage unfolded aboard the Costa Concordia. This Italian cruise ship would forever be etched into the annals of maritime horror. I still remember every chilling detail as if it happened yesterday. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the Tyrrhenian Sea, I stood on the deck, marveling at the splendor of the Mediterranean. The cruise had been a dream come true, a journey of luxury and leisure. Little did I know that this Friday, the 13th, would transform paradise into a nightmare. A sudden jolt rocked the massive vessel, sending shockwaves through my body. Confusion and panic erupted as the ship shuddered, its enormous hull scraping against the unforgiving rocks lurking beneath the waves. The once serene evening turned into a chaos of terrified passengers and a cacophony of alarms. I clung to the railing as the ship listed precariously to one side, the world tilting at a horrifying angle. It felt like gravity had turned against us, and the world became a maze of twisted corridors and darkened passageways. The crew desperately tried to restore order, but their faces betrayed the same fear that gripped my heart. Lifeboats swung out into the void, teetering on the edge of an abyss. I could see the reflection of our terror in the glint of their glassy portholes. As we navigated the labyrinthine corridors, the ship groaned and creaked like a living entity, angered by our intrusion. The once elegant surroundings were now filled with debris, water, and the cries of fellow passengers. In the flickering emergency lights, we descended into the belly of the beast, venturing to reach the lifeboats. The once luxurious dining areas and grand theaters were now submerged in darkness and despair. The evacuation was a chaotic blur. Some passengers helped each other, while others were overwhelmed by panic. The incessant wailing of alarms and the smell of fear lingered in the air. It was a nightmarish scene that no one should ever experience. As I finally boarded a lifeboat, I looked back at the ship, the Costa Concordia, now a colossal, half-submerged ghost. It was as if the ship had become a symbol of our ill-fated Friday the 13th. The disaster that had unfolded on that nightmarish voyage left me with scars that will never fade. It was a night when paradise turned to pandemonium, and the ghosts of that fateful Friday still haunt my dreams, reminding me of the fragility of our human existence. The lifeboat bobbed in the turbulent sea, a fragile vessel of hope during the chaos. Around me, passengers clung to one another, their faces etched with a mix of fear and disbelief. The water was cold, the wind relentless, and the night was now a shroud of impenetrable darkness. We watched in eerie silence as the once majestic Costa Concordia, now an ominous silhouette, groaned and surrendered to the relentless sea. It was as if the ship itself had become a colossal, vengeful ghost, unwilling to let go of the lives it had claimed. As the minutes turned into hours, the rescue vessels arrived, their searchlights cutting through the Black Sea. The Coast Guard and brave volunteers risked their lives to pluck us from the lifeboats and ferry us to safety. The memory of their courageous efforts would remain a testament to the human spirit in the face of disaster. But despite our rescue, the nightmare wasn't over. The image of the half-sunken ship forever wedged against the rocky shore would haunt my dreams. It stood as a colossal reminder of that fateful Friday the 13th when we had escaped with our lives, but left behind the innocent souls who would never see the light of day again. The survivors of that disaster carried the burden of guilt, questioning why we were spared when so many were not. We carried the weight of that fateful night, its horrors etched in our memories like permanent scars. We couldn't escape the feeling that we had glimpsed into the abyss and returned forever changed. The Costa Concordia was raised and salvaged as the years passed, but its haunting legacy remained. The world had watched in horror as the story unfolded on that ill-fated Friday, a stark reminder that even the most luxurious and majestic vessels could become instruments of terror and despair. The Costa Concordia disaster would forever be a chilling chapter in maritime history, a tale of hubris and tragedy, a reminder that the unforgiving and relentless sea could turn a dream into a nightmare. Standing on the shore, I can still hear the ghostly echoes of that dreadful Friday the 13th, a day when the sea claimed more than it gave. On that fateful Friday, November 13, 2015, I found myself in the heart of Paris. This city had always felt like a sanctuary of art, culture, and love. Little did I know that this romanticized image of the City of Light would soon be shattered by an unspeakable horror. The evening had begun with laughter and camaraderie. My friends and I were dining at a charming bistro, savoring the finest French cuisine and enjoying each other's company. The clinking of wine glasses and the melody of animated conversations filled the air, and it seemed like the perfect Parisian night. But then, the world shifted. The first explosions shook the ground, and the once gleaming Eiffel Tower, visible from our window, became a silhouette against a backdrop of chaos. Panic swept through the restaurant as people realized this was no ordinary night in the City of Love. We were quickly engulfed by sirens, the wailing of emergency vehicles racing to the scene of what would later be known as a series of coordinated terrorist attacks. Fear spread like wildfire through the streets, and the city I loved was transformed into a nightmarish battleground. As we fled from the restaurant, the cold November air felt like a cruel contrast to the warmth of the bistro. Gunshots echoed through the narrow streets, and the flashes of police lights painted a surreal scene. Once so picturesque, the cobblestones were now stained with fear and uncertainty. We sought refuge in a nearby apartment where strangers, all brought together by terror, huddled in silence. The flickering images on the television screen told the story of a city under siege, and each report of a new attack sent shivers down our spines. Hours turned into an agonizing night as we listened to the sound of sirens and distant gunshots. The City of Light was cloaked in darkness, and the echoes of the attacks haunted our thoughts. As dawn broke over the city, Paris awoke to a different reality. Once teeming with life, the streets were now guarded by soldiers in armored vehicles. The scars of that night were etched in the faces of those who had lived through it, a somber reminder that even in the most beautiful places, darkness can descend. The attacks of November 13, 2015, would forever be a chapter in the history of Paris, a reminder that terror knows no boundaries. Parisians and visitors alike would carry the weight of that night. As I walked through the streets of a changed city, I knew that the beauty of Paris would forever be interwoven with the haunting memories of that Friday. In the days and weeks that followed, the people of Paris showed incredible resilience. The Eiffel Tower, once dimmed in morning, eventually regained its sparkle, and the city gradually returned to its vibrant self. The sidewalk cafes bustled with patrons, the museums welcomed visitors, and the streets filled with life once more. However, beneath the surface, a collective scar remained. The memory of that harrowing Friday night haunted the city's collective consciousness, a reminder that terror could strike at any moment, even in the most beautiful places. The spirit of Paris, though tested, remained unbroken. A renewed sense of unity and solidarity emerged among the people, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. The city was determined not to let the darkness of that night define it, but the scars ran deep for those who'd been in the midst of the terror. The laughter and joy of that November evening had been stolen, replaced by the chilling memories of fear and uncertainty. As I walked the streets of Paris, I couldn't help but feel a mixture of sadness and resilience. The City of Light had been dimmed but had not been extinguished. It had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, with a newfound appreciation for life's precious moments and a determination to carry the memories of the fallen. The terrorist attacks of November 13, 2015 would forever be a painful chapter in the city's history, a reminder of the fragility of human existence and the capacity for darkness and light. As I gazed upon the beauty of Paris, I couldn't help but be moved by the strength and resilience of a city that refused to be defined by the terror of that Friday night. This city continued to shine despite the shadows that had fallen upon it.
Subscribe.